Hello everyone, I'm Wade, your cinephile host. Many of us who live in the free world tend to take our freedom for granted. But for those living under a communist government, it is only a hope and dream to have such freedom. Such a story is told in the movie titled I Am David, a 12-year-old boy whose earliest memory is life at the Belin prison camp, Bulgaria, where he grew up. After World War II, many families in Bulgaria were forced to labor camps for disagreeing with their new governments. Because of this, families were torn apart. David's father disappeared as a result, whereas his mother was forced to leave David and escape to Denmark through the help of a childhood friend, who became a commandante at the camp. She later published a book about her life in Bulgaria with the assumption that David was no longer alive. This left David all alone in the world. However, he did have two friends looking out for him at the camp. Johannes is a fellow prisoner who took care of David and taught him everything he knows, who also ultimately sacrificed his life for David. The other is the Commandante. He helped David escape just as he once did David's mother.
You must escape from here tonight. It's your only chance to stay alive. If you follow my instructions and make it out of the camp, travel when it's dark to flee Bulgaria, so you won't be seen. They'll be everywhere waiting to arrest you. And unless you're very careful, you'll be caught. If you make it across the border, you must get this envelope to Denmark.
David follows the instructions the Commandante had laid out and successfully escaped the prison camp. After fleeing from the camp, he jumps on a truck that's headed south to Salonika, where he was told to hide on a ship that will travel to Italy. Once he arrives, he should travel as far north as possible until he reaches the authorities in Denmark. The Commandante also entrusted David with a letter that instructs him not to open before reaching Denmark, or else he risks being sent back to prison. Finally, David manages to arrive at the port of Salonika. There, he snuck onto a ship headed for Italy. When he falls asleep, he dreams of his best friend, Johannes.
Why didn't you come with me?
This is your journey. I have my own.
But what am I looking for? What am I gonna find in Denmark?
Freedom.
But I don't even know who I am.
David was caught sleeping on a ship by a crew member, but fortunately, when the time came, he was willing to help David to show him how to get to shore. When David arrives in Italy, he is without money or food. All he knew was to head north. He picks up a small trail by the countryside and begins his journey. While he was approaching a vineyard, he was chased by a dog named Gina. This turned out to be a blessing in disguise because he ended up getting a job to deliver some wine, and in return, he earned some money.
Thank God Gina caught you. I'm desperate. I need you to run this wine over to the Bertelli's party. Please be careful. Now, it's 3 farms up the road, and here's 2 lira for your trouble. What? I'm not giving you more.
Do you know which way is north?
What, do I look like a compass? I have no idea. Ask the Bertellis. Now go, 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 go.
Later on, while David traveled the dirt roads, he came across an American couple whose car ran out of gas. They initially tried speaking to him in Italian, but soon found out that David spoke English and knew of a nearby gas station he had passed by earlier. So, the man offered him money to fetch them gas. David is more than willing because he now finally had enough money to buy himself some bread. As he continued north, David happened to come across a burning shed where he rescues a girl named Maria.
Thank you for saving me, David. Papa said I could have died. You could have too. You're very brave.
Did I just smile at you?
Yes? How come?
I don't know.
Is it because you think I look funny?
No.
Then maybe you love me?
Maria is probably right. David spends a few days with Maria and her family in their huge estate, where he sees a globe for the very first time and learns of Denmark's geographical location. However, his upbringing and constant worries caused him to behave strangely. This caught the parents' attention, so they began to question him about his past. David knew he couldn't stay much longer, so he left without saying goodbye and continued his journey north. When David entered a nearby city, he got caught in the middle of a protest and got himself arrested by mistake. While he was in the police van, he noticed the seal on the letter he was carrying had broken. Come to find out, the ID and other documents in there was of himself. He then found a way to escape the police van by using the gauze he had wrapped around his hand to reach the lever of the van door. Miraculously, once he escaped, he met a familiar face on the road. The same crew member who had helped him on the ship is now driving a truck.
Hey, my friend! I see you made it to shore. Well done.
Roberto, why aren't you on the ship?
I quit. It was too boring. Besides, they caught me stealing a crate of tomatoes. You need a ride? Hop in.
Roberto gives David a ride to Milan and drops him off nearby for him to continue his way north. While he hikes through the mountains, he sees an elderly lady painting the beautiful landscape. She noticed David staring, so she invites him to see her painting up close. She introduced herself as Sophie and asks if he would be her painting subject. David agrees. While she painted him, she noticed David was very quiet and still, so she tells him talking won't ruin the painting.
I don't really have anything to say.
Oh, well, then you don't have to say anything. There are an awful lot of people in this world who have nothing to say but seem to spend all the time talking. You're right to conserve your words. It means you'll be a man of great power.
I don't want to be a man of great power.
Then you don't have to be.
Sophie tells David that he can be whatever he wants to be and invites him to have lunch at her home in Switzerland to show her appreciation to him for being her model. In the car, David had the chance to look through Sophie's drawings. When they came to the border, David started to panic because he didn't have any ID to show. Fortunately, Sophie came up with a great cover story.
Well, this is my grandson, officer. And, we left the house in such a hurry this morning. He forgot to bring his identification.
I don't know. Our orders are to check everyone's papers, even children.
Couldn't you relax the rules for a bit? All he wants to do is to come into your country and overthrow the government and then rush right out again.
All right, Mrs. Anderson. Have a nice day. And young man, see if you can get us all pay rises while you're taking over our country.
At Sophie's home, David sees a picture of her son, Peter, the same person he saw in her sketches earlier. He learns that Peter had died from pneumonia. As they shared stories with each other, Sophie reassures David that he's in a safe place. The next day, when they visited a bookstore, David finds a book that would appear to be written by his mother.
Oh, that's a wonderful book, David. It was written by a woman who lost her husband and her son in Bulgaria after the war. The husband came from England, and when he went to Bulgaria to rouse people against the communists, he took her and the boy with him. But they were all arrested, and the man and the boy were killed.
Is the woman still alive?
Yes, she lives in Denmark.
I Am David is a movie that shows us the true meaning of friendship and sacrifice, how to care for others beyond yourself. We also see the true value of freedom and how many of us can take that for granted. But after witnessing David's story, hopefully we can all appreciate it a little more. 接下来 Ruby 要教我们送信到哥本哈根 I Am David 这部电影里所谈到的英文。这部电影里的主题之一是谈 freedom。那 Ruby, what can we learn from this?
I like to start by defining the word. Freedom is the right to act and express as one wants. 像在民主国家，我们的权利都受到保护，所以我们可以自由的生活 and explore as one desires.
台湾确实是这样的一个国家。And speaking of rights, 我常听到有人说 I have the rights. What does that mean?
Well, right is a moral or legal entitlement to do something. 通常我们会在抗议活动中听到 I have rights. 像在台湾这样的国家 being able to raise our voice when we see injustice 是我们的权利之一。
That's right, and that is why 我爱台湾。
However, some people choose not to exercise this right. Nowadays, society can be considered to be more distant. 每个人都太忙于自己的生活，没时间管别人。
Or people have the mindset of 反正不差我一个 so it doesn't matter what I do.
Yeah, however, 在这部电影里，许多角色都让我们看到一个特别之处 is having the courage to care. 他们都有在乎的勇气。
Yes, having the courage to care doesn't just mean having empathy. What's more important is to take action. 就像电影里的那些冒生命危险帮助 David 的人。
Precisely. We should always stand up for what we believe is right and trust that we can make a difference by doing so.
That is correct. Well, I am Wade.
I'm Ruby.
I hope you have learned something useful in this episode of Cinephile as I did. You can find more on the Fun Day website. Let's make every day a fun day.
What's that?
That's the Earth.
I've never seen a map like this before. Do you know how to read it?
Uh-huh. That's Italy, and there's Russia, and there's America.
Where's Denmark?
That's up here. Switzerland and Germany are between them and us.
Have you ever been to Denmark?
No? Have you?
I'm on my way there now.
You are? Why are you going to Denmark, David?
Maria,